you happen to know? Yeah?
No.
No?
He'd found it on the spot.
You just became acquainted quickly.
Yes, well, I just walked the district in horror. It's
So different than you remember?
Was a very nice area, and it is suddenly done this.
Really? Looks all right to me.
Oh yeah, this place does.
Uh-huh.
But
That's because Paul scoped it out.
It's not the tourist outside. There are 9 or 4 stores.
Helping.
Please note, Paul is an English
Stick this in
gentleman.
here. Will you guys be disgusted if I?
He is properly
he's a gentleman,
dressed.
so
He
I-
has a tie. I didn't even bring the one tie from Germany that I have with me.
We're on just a short jaunt. We have the 2 weeks in Germany, so we're just taking a few days out here. So I didn't let David, have his giant suitcase. I made him use my suitcase.
So but you're going back from here? Or
Yes.
Back,
Yeah.
Not back to
Yeah,
Germany?
we're going back to Germany
In a few
to
days.
fly home.
5
you're
days
going-
here.
Yeah.
And you're going back to Germany?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, just to fly back, just to
Yeah,
fly home
I
a couple
just
days.
gave a lecture in Germany, and I wish I hadn't done
Show
it.
him the newspaper article. You have it in
What's
your
that?
bag. The newspaper article. Paul can read it. I couldn't even read it. It's in your bag.
But where's my bag?
Well,
Oh,
that's
yes,
a question
right.
only you can answer.
I'm not proud of this. It's not what I can see. I think I have put
Is
it
this
here.
a video? So it's a video as well.
Yeah. I had gotten a little
So we really
tripod.
will have to,
Yeah, good
be
thing
on
you
our
dressed
best
up. Huh?
behavior,
Yeah, that's
huh?
right. That's right. And luckily for me, I won't be in the video, so
Oh.
I can slump in my
Well,
chair and have bad posture, and
This is in Mönchengladbach.
Indeed.
Yes.
Do you read German, Andrea?
No.
Oh, okay.
You read German.
I'm always
No.
glad to meet a Canadian who does not speak German.
Oh. Well, I don't speak German.
That means I
So
know,
you're right in there.
because I'm very pleased.
Good.
You can't pick my brains then.
They're pretty pickable in English, I think.
So tell me more about you.
Okay.
Where did you start life?
Washington, D.C. I'm American by birth, and I went to Northwestern University in Chicago.
Yes. Okay.
And my sister had first gone to University of Toronto to get her master's and PhD in English. And she introduced me to Charles Beaubien. And Charles Beaubien was a Montrealer, first cousin of Charles
I
Taylor.
know the name.
They grew up together
Oh yes.
because they were just the same age.
Mm-hmm.
And I married Charles Beaubien, and we lived in Montreal for a few years.
What years?
71 to 74.
I'm trying to see. I was at McGill, and later, I can't even know. Yeah, I think we may have overlapped about a year. Anyway, so
I know my husband, Charles Beaubien, worked on Charles Taylor's election in '67 when
sir?
he ran in the
Could I have
town
one
of
extra
Mount
cup?
Royal against
Yes,
Could I have one
Pierre
extra
Trudeau.
cup that I
Yes,
can
yes.
use this
Trudeau
as
won
a,
for in the Liberal
you want me to
Party.
just stand it?
But
Thank you.
But yeah, he worked on that.
That'll be my
Anyway,
new tripod.
he worked for you in the Liberal Party. Did
doesn't
you say?
quite
no,
work,
he
but
worked for Charles Taylor in
Oh, I
the
see. Yes.
town of Mount Royal. Was it? What's it? NDP. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, we settled in Ottawa, and then my marriage ended in 1990, and I came to York for 6 months to work. I was a journalist and publicist at the time.
You can still read German?
And
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
and it was there that I met Graham Moody, who
I
had
mean,
been
it
to
sounds
Maiden
slower than,
He was
I don't
in
read.
politics. He was
regularly,
the founding
yeah.
But
professor
I've
of
just
politics at the
actually done
University
a
of York
translation of my
in
wife's
1963.
Thanks.
grandmother.
So
Your wife's
he
grandmother.
was
English
20 years
English
older
breakfast.
than I
This
was.
man.
Thank you.
But it was a
Earl
second
Grey, Earl
marriage
Grey.
for both of us, but it was just great.
And when I married Bev's mother, Lisa's mother, Bev,
Oh.
she was 19 years younger than I.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You did a similar thing?
And all,
Graham Moody was actually 21 years older. 21
Graham,
years. The man I
Moody.
married, my
number 2.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I see. Okay, so he's your stepfather.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep. I'm on one for a Canadian on round 2.
oh, it's a similar sort of thing.
I guess that's if you were a Canadian on round 1.
Yeah, but we still,
Yeah.
we both
switched.
were on, yeah.
Right. Right. I'm sorry. So you translated your wife's. She wrote a poetry or what? I'm sorry. You said you translated your wife's.
My wife's grandmother wrote in 1930 or 31, I don't know, without having it in front of me.
Right.
She wrote the story of her family, which now goes back into the 19th century, you see, as a document for her grandchildren,
Right.
of whom Marietta was one.
Yes.
Marietta must have been 1933 or something. She had a bad leg, so she was told she had to sit still. So this set her off on this, and she wrote some 50. I've this year translated it. It's about 55,000 words, something like that. And I'm actually waiting. My family are supposed to be proofreading it. And
Okay.
they're not doing that.
Very quickly,
I
are
did
they?
my translation in the right time. I said I'll be finished by Easter, and I was finished by 10 days.
And this is
in
translating from
advance.
German into English? Translating from German
From
into
German
English?
into English,
But they're
because none of the present family can read.
Can read German, right? Yeah.
So
they have to trust your translation.
but I found various people have found various photographs and so on. It will be quite nice when I
yes.
finally get it printed.
I'm a very good editor. I've done a lot of proofreading and editing, so if you ever want me to take a look at it, I
Well,
will.
it's now sort of just over half done at last.
Oh, well, okay.
If I'd known, I would have said
Certainly
the whole-
taken you up on it. If
Well,
not,
it's
yeah.
good to have a second pair of eyes, even a third. So if you want me to have
Oh,
a quick
I'm not
look, I
prepared
will.
to change it again. This has gone. It went online, obviously, to
Right.
first my daughter-in-law and then my daughter, and it comes back, on this program where you can
Right.
accept
Oh yes,
the changes.
yes. So it's all been done that way.
Yes, it's quite good.
If you do say so yourself. If you do say so yourself.
No, their work is.
No.
Oh no, they have my translation. Because it was translated from German, was slightly
Stilted more.
Germanic in the word order and so on.
Right,
And,
okay.
they've really done quite a lot of work to change it.
Oh yes.
But I have to involve my granddaughters, not the one who's in Singapore. She has a sister who's at the moment in London, and she has produced a family tree
The one in London.
going backwards and forwards on the computer. It's quite nice.
What if I asked them to turn the music off? Because
It seems like a great idea. Yep.
What's that?
What you?
She's going to ask them to turn the music off because we're the only guests. So,
We only guess. Yes.
so it'd be nice if they would.
Yes. Anyhow, that's by the by. You
Okay.
asked whether I could do German. Yes.
How long will you be in Singapore?
11 nights, I believe.
Oh, okay, 11 nights.
and 2 nights on the plane.
Okay, all right. So 2 weeks altogether.
I don't hear. I don't know what's happening.
David,
to
do you
my
want to sit
hearing
here so maybe you could hear Paul a little
if you
better?
sit forward,
Yeah. Do you want to sit? Why
they
don't you
won't
sit
turn
here?
it off. They can't. She said.
Why don't you sit here, David, so you can hear Paul a little better?
If you sit forward, it'll be better.
Yeah. Well, I might change.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
Oh, okay. Paul can change. Thanks, Paul.
Well, I might change.
Oh, okay. Paul can change. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Sugar. Isn't it? Oh no, that's
No,
Paul's.
that's the
Oh, it's the wrapper for my camera.
They can't turn it off.
Apparently not.
No.
Who did you ask?
This, she's trying to turn it down, but she said no, she can't turn it off.
Oh, your watch band is loose.
Yes, I know. I've got to buy a new one. I'll have
Is
to.
it? Oh, I see.
I'll
It's
have
broken
time in
down.
Singapore.
I see. That's fine.
They tell me it rains every day for an hour.
That'd be the perfect time to get your watch fixed. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I have to go in the shopping centre. Now tell me, so you having done your woodwork or furniture or whatever,
Yes. It cleared my mind.
yes, and you
Working
decided-
with my hands for 2.5 years was the best thing I ever did.
yes, I can believe
I
that.
didn't become a good cabinet maker, but it absolutely cleared my head, and after that I knew what I wanted. I did some reading during that time, and I said, I had the greatest history master at St. Christopher's School in Letchworth, who became one of Britain's top reporter in Africa during World War II. And I knew when he was teaching history that I wanted to be a historian. And when I told my mother in London, when they wanted me to go to Manchester to become a textile engineer, I couldn't do math, I couldn't do physics, and I didn't want to be an engineer, and I wanted nothing to do with textiles. And my mother had, in a hotel here somewhere, had a psychotic episode, threw herself on the bed, and father went on his knees, and it was a kind of scene that I would like sometime to create as a small piece of theater. In any case, mother passed out, and father begged me and said, do something for the family, which meant family was always in textiles, and I must become not a salesperson, but I must become a textile engineer. So I was sent to Manchester to the tech. Well, I have always learned how to avoid unpleasant circumstances. And at that place, I saw the textbooks, and I had the money to go. The family paid, and an uncle in London helped pay, and here I was installed, and I was lived at the Quaker Hall in Manchester. So I had good food and I had nice companions, but I refused to go to class. And I went instead to Owens College to listen to lectures on history, which was what I wanted to do, except I wasn't enrolled there. I was enrolled at the Tech. And when exam time came, I sat there and put blank pages into the thing. So the dean called me in and he said, where were you? And I said, I was at Owens College, listening to marvelous lectures in history. And he said, well, next time enroll at Owens College and here you flunk. And so that was the end of me, and my parents threw up their hands and said, how's your German? Mit dir weiß man nicht, was zu machen ist. With you, one doesn't know what the hell to do. I added hell. And so I was sent ahead to America. I was given $300, and I was told to go and get a job. But nobody told me this was the depth of the Depression. And so I went around trying to get jobs. And eventually, luckily, somebody said, you know, there's a woodworking shop where they need an apprentice. And so I worked in the shop for about 2 months.
Where was that? In what city?
In New York.
Oh, in New York.
And but of course I only had I don't know, I had less than minimum wage at that time. So when the family came, they all moved to the West Coast, and they said, if you make it out for another month or two, you can come out west. Eventually, I went to UCLA and did a term's work at the university, and I said, I'm going to university, and the parents said, no, you didn't do well enough. And so I said, well, I can get a part-time job, and I lived with a black lady who had a bed to spare in her little place. I paid very tiny amounts, and I worked, and I started going to City College in LA, and did my first term, and then I could go on to University of California at UCLA, and I did that. And when my parents saw that I could actually study, they said, okay, here you are, now you can.
So what did you study at university?
Well, I started doing what I did history, because that was at school in Letchworth. I was at St. Christopher's School in Letchworth, and the master, as I only learned much later, 20 years later, I learned that my history master went to become one of the great World War II
correspondence.
newspapermen.
What
Worked
was his-
for the Daily Telegraph.
What was his name?
Christopher Buckley. And if you go through the history of the Daily Telegraph, you see Buckley first in where was he? He was with Tito's forces at first, and then he went on his own to cover the battles in Africa and at the border of
School
Egypt.
still exists.
Pardon?
Does the school still exist?
St. Christopher?
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, we're going there
You're
Tomorrow. We're going tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, the headmaster agreed to give us a tour and let us stay for lunch and all that.
I'm going to try and find a cake. Anybody else? Any interest? In a
Oh,
cake?
absolutely.
Good.
But listen, this is our treat, not yours, okay? So it's my treat